So we just finished talking about performance and how you can ensure that your website is set up to optimally perform. Another thing that you should do is you should always just validate your site. Make sure that you don't have any errors in your code. This could save you a lot of time troubleshooting when things don't display correctly. There's many different validation tools that are available. Most of the current web browsers have web developer add-ons that you can use to validate, or you could just go to a website like the W3 Schools and validate your site there. If I simply go to the W3 validator and I can enter in my URL and I can click check, and it'll go through and it'll let me know if my website has been validated. And you can see that this document was successfully checked as HTML5. I did pass, but I have 3 warnings, and if I scroll down farther on the page, it will let me know what the warnings are. So right here it says consider using H1 element as a top level heading only. All H1s are treated as top-level headings by many screen readers and other tools. Section lacks heading, so I have a section tag where I don't have a heading. And it said 3 warnings, I only see 2. I must have had 2 instances of one of these. But needless to say, for all intensive purposes, our website does pass validation, so that's a good thing. If you have any errors, they'll show up here, and you'll certainly want to look into those and catch those before you proceed. So that's one thing that you can do to ensure that your website is going to run most optimally. The next thing that you want to do is you're going to want to test your site. Now, when you're building a website for deployment on mobile devices, testing can be a huge undertaking. Obviously, there's thousands of devices that you're going to need to check your website on, and that really just isn't feasible. So I'm going to share some different tools that you can use in order to help with this process. We'll be talking first about emulators and simulators that you can use right from your desktop browser, and these allow you to see how the site's going to look on various devices. They won't, however, give you a feel for the user experience of the site. So you won't be able to tell if your touch targets are large enough, or if it's easy to move between sections of content, or how quickly your site might load on a slow mobile connection. Obviously, you're not going to be able to obtain all the devices that you want to test on, but at the very minimum, you should test on an iPhone, an Android phone, an iPad, and a 7-inch tablet like an iPad mini or an Android device. And then that is in addition to all the major browsers that you should be using for both Mac and Windows platforms. Obviously, the testing time is going to take longer than it did before, because before, where we were supporting 3 or 4 major browsers per platform that you would need to check on, now we have those in addition to the plethora of various devices that you're going to want to test on. One other tool that may be available for you is an open device lab. And depending on geographically where you're located, you may have an open device lab that's available to you. An open device lab is simply a place where you can find a collection of mobile devices that are available for the community to use. Some device labs are owned by web agencies or other companies that have generously opened up their labs to the public, and others are community organizations or nonprofits that rely on donated resources. If you go to opendevicelabs.com, you can see where these labs are, and you can search for your own location. So I'm in California. If I search for California, you can see that there are several in this area. The closest one to me, I'm in San Diego, is going to be in Los Angeles. Depending on where you are, you might have one that is closer to you, and so this would certainly be a good resource for you to check out. There are constantly new open device labs appearing all the time, so this might be an option for you to look into. The other option is obviously just buying or borrowing devices, and this is a good solution to some extent. You may have a device or two within your immediate work circle or family circle that you can test on, and of course that's better, because if you can test on the real thing, it's better than a simulator or an emulator. But if that's not available to you, you might want to consider checking eBay or Craigslist, or even asking friends or coworkers if they have old devices that they're not going to do anything with, if you might have that. And you can amass a bit of a collection that way and just test via Wi-Fi. So that's ideally a great solution for you to use. However, in lieu of those particular options, you may want to test using some sort of emulator or simulator. So let's just look at a couple of these. There's a number of emulators and simulators out there, but you can test to get an idea via your desktop monitor how your site is going to look on a particular device by using an emulator or simulator. So an emulator shows you how the device is going to behave, and a simulator shows you what the device's screen would look like. So there are different emulators and simulators. Most of the things that we're going to be looking on right now are going to be simulators, in that they will give you an idea of what the page is going to look like instead of how it would necessarily behave. If you're interested in checking out emulators, you would need to search for those. Most mobile operating systems and manufacturers out there have an emulator that you can download. So if you wanted to emulate something for a Nokia phone, they probably have some sort of emulator. So you would just want to search for that, and then you would download and install that, and then you could emulate how that particular device would render your website and how it would actually work. In addition to that, there are companies out there that provide a comprehensive list of browsers that you can run through. One of the most popular is crossbrowsertesting.com, or you could check out Browser Stack. And both of these companies allow you to, from your desktop, have instant access to a variety of mobile browsers. Both Browser Stack and cross-browser testing are paid services, so you would need to sign up. There's usually a monthly fee that's based on users or usage, but you would need to sign up and get an account in order to use these. Browser Stack does have a free trial, and I think cross-browser testing does as well, so you could try it out and make sure that it's working for you, but obviously the free trial is limited. So if you decided you did want to use this, then you would need to sign up for membership. Alright, so let's look at a couple of different simulators. As I mentioned, there is a variety of the simulators out there. As I mentioned, there are a variety of simulators out there. I'm just going to show you a few of them. The first one that we're going to look at is mobiletest.me, and this allows you to test your website on a variety of devices. So here, when you first get to the website, you need to pick the device that you want to test your website on. So you'll pick that particular device, and then you'll put the web address. You will need your site to be live in order to test utilizing this website. And then once you have typed it in, you can see that it displays the website on that particular device. So I can see how my website would actually look, and if I have links that are live, I can actually go to those particular pages and view it just as I normally would on that particular device. So this is kind of nice because it does give you an idea of how this will look, and it simulates the functionality. I mean, obviously you're not going to have the touch feature enabled, but you are able to navigate through the site. From here you can choose a different device. So if I wanted to switch and try this on a different device, it's then going to display my site on a different device. So here you can see on this Samsung device, I have a little bit of an issue anyways with my menu and where the menu is rendering. So I might want to address that. But there are tons of different devices available, and this gives you a good idea of how your website would actually function on that particular device. In addition to that, you can go into options and you can choose landscape or portrait. So if you switch to the landscape mode from portrait, you can see how my website now changes to our more large screen type of view. Also, I can change emulation from basic to advanced, and the advanced is available with the Pro plan. So again, you would need to pay to have the Pro plan available. But even with just the basic plan, it gives you a good idea of how these devices are going to render your website. So this is a useful tool to be able to use. Another tool that you could use is inside Chrome. There is an add-on called Window Resizer, and once you have Window Resizer installed, then you can emulate various screen resolutions by utilizing this particular add-on. So I've already downloaded and added Window Resizer to Chrome, and in order to use it, I'm going to put in my web address, and then I will click on the little icon for the resize window, and this lets me choose how I want to resize my window. So I can go ahead and choose that option, and then it will so I can choose that particular So what I can do is I can go into the add-on and I can choose the particular size that I want to emulate, and once I choose that, my window is going to be resized based on those specifications. So then I can view my site and see how it would look under those specifications. And obviously there's a lot of different settings that you can use to test. You can also go into settings and you can augment some of the various settings that you want. You can, in addition to that, add additional presets or delete presets, and you can add your own presets and window sizing as well as the icon that you want associated. So this could be a good tool if you use Chrome to be able to test your websites. Another option that I really like is the Viewport Resizer, and this is actually a little bookmarklet that you can install onto your web browser, and this works in any sort of web browser. So if you come to this website here, you can click to install the bookmarklet, and once you have the bookmarklet installed, you'll go ahead and open the particular, and once you have the bookmarklet installed, you'll see a little resizer script will show up in your bookmark bar, and when you click that, it's going to open up this little sub panel menu right here. And once you have this open, you can choose through the various devices that are here. And if I click any of these, you can see that it'll just resize my screen based on this particular resolution setting. So if I chose tablet, it would show me how my page would look inside of a tablet using these width specifications. And you can see that the size, the portrait, the ratio is displayed here. So if I go to something smaller, it shows me a small size tablet, and all the functionality still works. You would be able to navigate through your site and utilize it in the manner in which you had originally set it up. You can also customize the size settings here, so if you wanted to make something custom, you would punch in the numbers and then it would update your preview based on those specifications. You can also grab this and just click, hold, and drag to resize and get an idea of how your particular website is going to look on a variety of device sizes. So this is a good one to use as well. And finally, if you are a Firefox user, Firefox has a really helpful little tool built right into the developer tools of Firefox. If you simply go to Tools, and if you go to Web Developer, and if you go to Responsive Design View, your page will actually open in a responsive design view, and there's a list of presets right here that you can target, and then you can preview how your particular web page would look at that preset, and you can customize this as well and put in your own set of presets. So these are a wonderful set of different tools that you can use to simulate how your website is going to look in a variety of situations. Obviously, you're not going to get all of the functionality issues that you might normally have if you are using the device itself, but it certainly gives you a good idea of what this site might look like. Another advantage that you have from simply using these tools or just browser resizing, which is simply just what we've been doing by resizing our browser window, is it lets you see the in-between positions. So not just the preset possible viewports, but the widths of whatever device you choose to target on. And since device widths are constantly changing, it's important to make a website that's going to function well in a wide variety of widths, even ones that we don't even know exist quite yet. So in summary, when you create a responsive website, you need to give a lot of thought to both the users and the devices that they might be using. Although responsive design is not only about designing for mobile, it's natural to focus more on mobile because it's probably the less familiar medium and because there are just so many new capabilities and limitations to consider with mobile devices. Just don't forget to make sure that your design works well on desktop screens as well. And as I've mentioned before, I would recommend that you don't design for any particular device, but rather create a design that will work well across all devices. Focus on mobile first, make sure it works well in this particular environment, and then build up to the larger screens.